So I'm gonna be covering two documents by Prophet Noble Joe Ali from a little different perspective than usual. But before I get into that demonstration, I have to lay the foundation with the document. Let's read the document before I get into the demonstration. Divine Constitution of Moorish America, Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on the Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger, or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted into 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting a fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love, and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. So this document is our bylaws and the Constitution for Moorish America. So I'm gonna lay the foundation. All right, so I'm gonna read another document before we get into how these documents created an estate and why Noble Jew Ali was such a great man because of the actions that he did in this document. Our authority. State of Illinois, Cook County. This was a religious affidavit of organization that was filed 1928, August 1st, recorded on the county level. I, Noble Jew Ali. Hold on 1 second. 1 second here. I, Noble Jew Ali, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, held at Chicago and Cook County of State Illinois on the 20th day of July, 1928, for the purpose of the following persons are appointed sheiks. They're appointed sheiks according to the rules and usages of such Moorish Holy Temple of Science. So the bylaws and the rules, the jurisdiction of the civic organization, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which foreigners will call a consulate or embassy, that's just what was being erected. So I'm talking in such a way for a reasoning, and hopefully it invoke some thought. But anybody interrupt me with any questions that I continue the demonstration. So sheiks, according to the rules and usages of such Moorish Holy Temple of Science, do solemnly swear that at a meeting of the members of Noble Jew Ali, Amelia L., Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America, to appoint and consecrate missionaries, that means ambassadors, of the prophet to establish the faith of Muhammad in America. And said Moorish Holy Temple of Science adopted its corporate name, the following: Moorish Science Temple of America. So that's essentially today what they call a DBA, doing business as the Moorish. So the actual function is Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which is a civic organization teaching nationality, international law, inheritance laws, how to create an estate. You know, there's national standards. People that got culture, you see how they move. Once again, Chinatown, Koreatown, Little Bangladesh, the examples are everywhere. When you have culture, you move a certain way. So that's was a jury. It was a civic organization. So now he's saying, yeah, you can join. Yeah, it's members, but member and citizen is the same thing. Organization and government is the same thing. When all the members or all the citizens share the same nationality, it becomes a national government. So that means you have allegiance to a bloodline, not just you, but a body of people in thousands on one page about their culture, their religion, and they mobilize and they're jurists because they know international ramifications as it relates to their nationality. So now you're talking about international law distinguished from a municipal jurisdiction. You just opened it up just by knowing your culture, or just by a pool of people knowing their culture. You just change jurisdictions in real time, just on competency and unity, which is an application. All right, so this is what happened in 1928. So when you look at the state of Illinois religious affidavit, why did he choose Illinois? Why did he choose to get it? Why did he choose that verbiage in this recording? All right, so we're gonna get into that right now. Okay. So Illinois General Assembly, Religious Corporation Act. And once again, it's probably like my third time going through this particular demonstration. We're gonna go through it in a different light to a degree. Now the affidavit that he filed, let's see why he did it like that. So if any church, congregation, or society form for the purposes of religious worship may be incorporated in the manner following by electing or appointing according to its usages and customs. Remember the sheik was appointed according to the usages and customs of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. That was the lingo that I just read. And the Divine Constitution was a document that I read before, which is the Constitution for that. All right. So Act 1 through 6 of what I read, that's a constitution for a body. So keep these things in mind as I'm reading. By electing or appointing according to its usages and customs, and those are what? Traditions of a people, right? Traditions, habits, and customs, traditions of a culture of people. At any meeting held for that purpose, two or more of its members as trustees, wardens, or vestrymen, or such other officers whose powers and duties are similar to those of trustees. Now we're talking estate, talking about trust law now, talk about inheritance, passing things down. If it's a trustee, that means it's a trust being established. We just call them sheiks, right? The prophet just called them sheiks, but essentially it's trustees. That was a trust document. I'm trying to help you look at the document different. Not I ain't gonna say different because I don't know how you was looking at it to begin with, but I'm saying I'm highlighting that the document is a trust document. If you didn't know, and why Noble Joe Ali worded it like that and used 803 ILS, which is Illinois General Assembly laws, to resurrect it because it's in harmony with their stuff too. Hassan, you got something?
Yeah, I got a question. So basically, the noble he wrote his own constitution and then filed it with the state of Illinois. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, yep. He put it on a
So
public.
basically, so we will have to do the same thing with California, correct?
Yeah. Um. Exactly. So whenever we get property, similar to when the brother Trey L, he got his trust, we helped him get his trust established. It'll be the same thing on a community level. So the temple will convey the trust. I mean, the property will be conveyed into the trust, i.e., the temple, and then it'll be the jurisdiction of that will be under the bylaws, which essentially are just what we agreed upon as far as for this is a specific example. Let's talk about the land trust. But it'd be, as months and years go by, it's going to be other things that we have covenants or agreements on that we want to do, investments or whatever the case may be. Um, we have a constitution as well, our bylaws. Now, at the time when the prophet was alive, you see his intentions of the Moorish Science Temple. That's really the function of the Moorish Science Temple. Since the Moorish Science Temple has been fractionalized after his death, you had these schism operations, meaning there's three different versions of the Moorish Science Temple now. You have three Temple Ones now, three Temple number ones. You have three different ideologies of how the Moorish Science Temple is supposed to be ran. Um, so that's why I got reduced to just like a religious organization with no body politic arm to it or no civic arm to it. And most Moorish Science Temple won't even go into these documents that we're going through with Noble Drew Ali because of that fact. Because it's going to talk about, okay, it's a trust document. We're talking, there's more to it than just, um, religion. It's not like we're going to church. It's a body politic. We're talking about inheritance, um, a jurisdiction, a government, self-sustaining, able to work together in such a way where we're all doing business with each other. We own the earth. Because if we own the earth, that means everything's in trust. It's like there's nothing to sell. We just renting stuff out at best because we're nationalizing the earth as we come into who we are and grow in the centralized area. You just nationalize the earth and expand outward. But the people got to know thyself and work with each other to do that, though. You know, and it's already been it's been done. You know, um we went over the Cuba demonstration. It's called the Act of State Doctrine, right? Cuba said Cuba for Cuba. They nationalized the Cuba, and this was in the 60s. United States tried to sue the Cuban government because they felt they had business investments out there. And it was an international law ruling, so that don't matter. The Cubans came together and said, nah, this is our land. Y'all ain't got nothing to do. We ain't got no contracts with y'all. You know, y'all not even from out here. Y'all foreigners. But the Cubans stayed solid at that time to invoke international law. So there's nothing new under the wheel. Um, so let's get back to the document. If anybody got any thought, that's how you got anything else, or anybody got any other thoughts,
Nah,
questions?
you.
Oh, Islam. I wanted to inject that the counties historically, from a historical standpoint, the counties were here before the seats of government. So this is why recordations at the county level are so important, because it gives notice from the county level up to the federal level. And I'm still researching if it applies internationally. So this is why recordations at the county level is so important. I yield.
Fine. And once again, so when we're saying trustees, we're talking about an estate. So when we read the divine constitution and bylaws, when Noble Drew Ali is saying we're part and parcel, that means we're tied to the land. This is our inheritance. Sheiks are trustees. We're supposed to convey land into a trust so it can be passed down properly. The people of the land have to mobilize and form these covenants, these agreements, these divine covenants. We have to wake up and work together and erect these things. And it's not just a piece of paper. A trust is not just a piece of paper either. As part of it, all is saying that, oh, we agreed to do this and we're going to stick to the game plan. And this is how we're going to organize it. And then we'll file that on the county level. But if the grantor, the trustee, the beneficiaries ain't acting right, then what's the paper? That's default. That's called a incompetent heir, right? Back to the ward of the state, back to the chattel property thing. That's the flip side, right? All right, so let me continue with the document. So the trustees, we call them sheiks, wardens, vestrymen, and other officers whose powers and duties are similar to those of trustees shall be agreeable to the usages and customs, rules or regulations of such congregation, church, or society, may adopt a corporate name. So back to the document I read earlier, the body politic civic organization was Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and it got the DBA, Moorish Science Temple of America, because you're creating a business entity. Noble Drew Ali created a third party interfacer to interface with the United States. You have to create, because the United States ain't real. You have the you can create a corporation under a national origin. Just like back in the day, the Barbary States. You had the Barbary Company that later became the British East India Company. Like we've always had vehicles that we had to create. So that was one of them. So it had a lot of arms. Now the foreigner, they're gonna call that entity a consulate, an embassy. Because remember, we're going over now. We're talking about treaties. Even though it's not a lot of documentation about Noble Drew Ali actually mentioning the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, he's saying it in the 101s for children. The Moroccan or Moorish ruler is Sultan. If he's saying Sultan, that means he's referencing the Sultan, right? Just like the treaty is referencing the Sultan. That means we organized enough to have an empire. So that was on Noble Drew Ali's mind with this document being filed. It was more than just religion. Being a Moor is not just a religion. It's a nationality of people, right? That had a culture, a nobility, and a character that goes with it. Once you know this information, that's divine. We could have never been known about none of this. Now we have a duty to unite properly, erect that heaven on earth. It don't really take that long to do it if we got our heads screwed on straight. It don't take that long. We make, um, so that's that now. Now that you know that, I want to go into the law dictionary, the Black's Law Dictionary, and look up state again. Like We've done this multiple times, but let's analyze it now that we got the backdrop of this particular demonstration. And what's been the theme? Habits and customs. Now let's look at what a state is. Now, a state is short for nation state. Once again, a people permanently occupying a fixed territory bound together by common law. What's common law? You're dealing with Constitution. In the Constitution, you're dealing with the treaty. Right? So we're taking them to a, so we share, we're bound together because we have the same habits, customs, and we can invoke treaties and common law. Habits and customs. That's tradition, culture. What do we do annually? What do Moors do? Are Moors not only know their nationality, but are they part of a government? Are they part of a temple? Are they part of an organization that is civic? Are they active, not passive? And do they have traditions to reflect for that temple, organization, nation state? Whether it's summer solstice, winter solstice, what habitual traditions is this clan of Moors showing? We're talking about, we're reading the definition of state, a nation state. That's what we're reading in law, not Webster's. This is a law definition of what a state is. All right, so let's rewind this. A people permanently occupying a fixed territory bound together by common law, habits, and customs into one body politic, exercising through the medium of an organized government, independent sovereignty, and control over all persons and things within its boundaries, capable of making war and peace, and entering into international relations with other communities of what? Not just next door, but the globe, in case law to support that. This is why Noble Drew Ali was the last man on record to erect a nation state that actually has some wheels and gas behind it. Over 10,000 people in Chicago alone, 15 branch temples. He's invited by the president of Cuba to be part of the Pan American Conference, talking about it's thousands of us. We erected an organization under temple structure, and they know they're not black, Negro, colored. They understand that they're part of a vast estate. And he was invited to an international platform. He was a general, right? When you start, look at the Circle 7 Quran, Abdul Aziz, a sultan in Saudi Arabia, invited him out, gave him his noble title. What's the Moors ruler? Sultan. The last sultan over there, what they call the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, gave Noble Drew Ali his El Hajj. This is information we need to know so we can understand where this is really at. Why he was called a prophet. It's not just some spooky thing, the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and no, my prophet's Prophet Muhammad. And it's not about that. It's about what's the principles that came through his mouth. What did he mobilize? What did he organize? What footprints did he leave behind? And it's all in harmony with international law, getting back to culture, unifying, knowing thyself and who you are. It's just been documented. Other than that, you're in a delusion thinking you're somebody you're not. Why be in amnesia when you ain't got to? Noble Drew Ali came and reminded us. So now, a state, when you're part of a temple, you're supposed to be part of a nation state, a body politic. You're supposed to come into it, get competent, and be an ambassador to that particular Moorish community, so we can get more and more woke to mobilize. That's what Noble Drew Ali did. Now, customs, habits and customs, usages. All right. So now let's go to customary law. Let's go to customary law. We're going to talk about why the First Amendment, which is also called the First Bill of Rights. When they talk about the right to your religious creed, that's the thing. It's supposed to be the religious aspect and the civic aspect supposed to be a well mesh, because it is religious protections that ultimately become civic, because the First Amendment protects your way of life. It protects your culture, your traditions, your usages and customs. And you can erect constitutions based on a republic form of government, distinguished from democracy. That's your constitutional right. So the religion is well woven within the international law. Don't run from the religion. That's what makes you a civilized human being with character and gives you the nobility. Because religion is realignment. It's not what they've made spooky. And that's the Gnostic. That's the noble understanding that. If you know that, that means your degrees is risen. You at the mountaintop. You're not looking at religion like the people that have not been to the mountaintop, that have not got those degrees. We become our brother's keeper. Just like if you have a son, daughter, that's 1, 2 years old, niece, you're going to groom them the best you can so they don't make mistakes. That's the position that we play with our people once we get this info. Because they're the minorities. When you look at minority in law, there's a person incompetent of what? Culture. They're not working together. They're killing each other. We're filling up the jails. Lack of international law. You don't even know how to inherit, how to create instruments to even have an estate, trust fund. Have no clue of how to make that happen. Minority. That's how they view us. Minority, that's a derogatory term. All right, so customary law. Once you have a culture, you're displaying that it's a community of people that know their culture. They got traditions. International law is invoked just by that, just by honoring your mothers and fathers. International law is erected. Why? The customary law refers to unwritten rules and practices that have evolved within a community, gaining legal recognition due to their long-standing acceptance and significance in governing social behavior. Right? Look up nationality. That's a people that have a certain character and nobility. Social behavior, that's what that is. Customary law is a body of norms and practices that arise from what? Traditions and customs of a particular community. When you display culture, you invoke an international law, which we can say that's our religion, that's our way of life, and that's protected, i.e. under the First Amendment, i.e. under the First Bill of Rights. That's why we went to court, Larry Bay, they was talking about sit down, the bailiff, right? He was like, nah. The judge was like, oh, well, unless it's religious, then y'all need to sit down. Because it's our custom. Y'all standing up while the noble is demonstrating in this colorable courtroom. We the nobles. That's our custom. We're not taking our feathers off in these colored courtrooms. Why? Because that's our custom. This is our habit and tradition. We're not removing the fez. It's our custom. It's our religion. It's our creed. It's our way of life. If it was a baseball cap, Laker hat, wave cap, tilted to the back, the hip hop look and all that, oh, that has to come off. It has to come off. See the difference? All right, so customary law. See, look, in international law, customary law refers to the law of nations, of the legal norms that have developed through the customary exchanges between states. And we just read what a state is in law. It's not an invisible boundary. Oh, 50 miles to Los Angeles. Just because you see a freeway sign that says you're 50 miles to Los Angeles doesn't mean that you're literally, I'm not in San Francisco no more. I'm in San Diego. None of that stuff. That's not what a California, Nevada, just because the sign or people's license plates on the back of their car are different. One may say Nevada, doesn't mean you just went to another part. You're still in North America. A state is a group of people that organize. We just read what a state was. All right, so in international law, customary exchanges between nation states over time, whether based on diplomacy or aggression, essentially legal obligations. All right, so you see, just by knowing your culture, once again, opens up international law. If you're not displaying no culture, you're going to be subject to the municipal or the corporate state because you don't know your culture. So whatever they got for you, they're gonna trick you. They're gonna do whatever. Yeah, yeah, come over here. We need to take care of you as a ward since you don't know your customary law, since you have no customs, since you have no traditions. We're gonna come take care of you because y'all can't take care of yourself. Um, any thoughts, statements, comments on that? Um, I think that's what I want to look at the exercise clause. That'll be it for my demonstration, actually. Exercise clause. I need some thoughts and some statements and comments. How everybody feeling about what we talking about here, man? Um, free exercise clause is part of the First Amendment of the Constitution, protecting individuals' right to practice their religion freely without government interference. Now we're talking vaccines. Now we're talking everything, anything you can think of that'll disrupt our way of life as the indigenous community. And, right? So, but that's tied to, like I say, the First Amendment. I wanted to show y'all that because I brought that up. So the competency of the people. It's crazy. No thought statement before I read a passage from the Holy Quran and eventually close out.
No, good demonstration, yo. Okay. And that printout of the iOS of the Illinois thing, you can get that on Harvey Bay Publications, but I have that printout of basically the rules and regulations of the Moorish Science Temple of America through the Religious Act. So I have that printout, but it's a cold printout.
Mhm. Yeah, and I've been to different temples. Well, they won't go into that document as in depth, and I've seen different versions too.
Yeah, because it's like we can replace a sheik or something if they're not, aligning with like what the prophet brought. I guess the same as like impeaching a president almost. It's like if you're not really representing the people properly, the people have the right to remove you because we're the reason you have the power. You know what I mean?
Right,
So basically, we're
right,
gonna know is like getting these BS sheiks out of here. All the temples were correct, and the people knew what this document was. They could be like, "Hey, you're not really up to par with what this religious act is. You need to be properly removed," and that helps that show a yield.
fine. Any other thoughts, statements from anybody before I read a chapter in the Circle Seven and close out? I did want to talk about. We did have a court last Monday, and we have court tomorrow too. International law demonstration, and I wanted to hear. DL still on here? DL, you in here still? Let me see. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted DL and Larry Bay to give their narrative of just everything they saw, the data, because I think that's key for the people. We had a demonstration at Downey Courthouse, and the circus has started. But let me just read this chapter. We'll get into that after I close out. So this is chapter 25 of the Circle 7 Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Or this one, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, actually. The Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger for your own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. so shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Right? So let me close out in prayer. Have a little miscellaneous convo before we officially close out. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, by night and by day. Who was Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, Islam. Let me
Hey, Ma,
stop the recording. Islam.
I got a question.